Hello folks, Lone Adventurer here. Thank you very much for stumbling your way upon my channel. This is part 2 of my playthrough of Kuroi, which is a cyberpunk solo skirmish game, narrative and skirmish game. If you want to catch part 1 and you haven't done so already and you want to see how the first part of the gameplay works and character creation, then there'll be a link up in the corner of the screen right about now. Otherwise, we're going to crack on with the next part of the game. So as I said in the first video, this game is split into 2 parts. The first part is the preparation stage, in which you do a little bit of light narrative flavour gameplay and generate a few little variations on the heist that you're about to play. So the heist we're about to start is going into Arashi Tech, which is a military technology corporation. As a result, the enemies are going to be a bit more hard. And we also found out that our client is a street gang, which gives us a +1 savvy, +1 to our savvy skill. Also, one of the preparation missions that we did was stealing some important data, which means we gain +1 combat or skill at the start of each turn when we're doing the actual skirmish. And I can see I marked my stim pack here that we gained as a bonus. But what I didn't do, what I forgot, was that I have 11 credits and I can optionally purchase a few other bits and pieces with those 11 credits. Now I find myself wondering whether it would be a good idea to get a better weapon, because if we're going into a military corporation where the soldiers are better, perhaps I need to be better at taking them down. Now if I purchase any weapons or any gear, I think that it will just be for this heist, so I'll lose them at the end of this heist. I'm just going to double check that. Okay, I'm not too sure. I'm sure I read somewhere in the rules that these items are one-time use, one heist use, and then they're gone. So any money I spend, if I don't use those things in this heist, then they're gone. But they could help me, and we'll, if we're successful in the heist, we'll have more money after it. Alright, I'm not sure if I'm going for the right thing, but I think I'm going to just go for a laser cutter, which sounds fun. And this allows us to pass through impassable squares. And we can use it 3 times, but it increases the alertness of the enemy. So I guess that means we can basically go through walls. So that might be a little bit handy if I'm trying to avoid conflict with the enemy, who are going to be a bit more hard in this mission. With that done, we need to set up our skirmish area. So let me move this to one side and grab this here. Right, where am I going to put this? We'll pop it there. This 6x6 grid will represent the level that we are on. And if we turn to the heist levels section of the booklet, we can see the various layouts that we might encounter here. Now the first one is going to be the lobby. Once we've made our way through the lobby, then we'll randomly roll to see which level we come across next. So let's have a look here. We've got these black spots, which are the walls, essentially, the impassable squares. I'm going to represent those with these black cubes. And we've also got a few other things here. We've got this eye, this red eye, that is the target. That is the intel, which is the thing we are going for. So in the context of our mission, which is to undermine the corporate authority, disrupt the infrastructure, then there's a key piece of infrastructure there that we are able to sabotage in some way before we move on to the next level to do whatever we're planning on doing there. So it's kind of abstract, but essentially that's the target. If we get there, we get some intel. If we hit 12 intel, then we are successful in the mission. So looking here, we've also got this, not there, sorry, that's the wrong one. This one here, the E is the entrance, so that is where we're starting. So we'll pop ourselves there. And I'm using this marker here to represent us. and you'll notice we've got this little arrow on the side, and that little arrow is the way that we are facing. So I'm not sure that we have to put ourselves in a particular orientation when we start. I guess I'll just put myself like that. And then we've also got this X, and that is the exit. I'm going to represent the exit with this blue cube. And then this C here is partial cover. Yep. So that is sort of cover that operates in a slightly different way. And the final thing is these three arrows here, and they represent the enemy in this level, and the arrow shows you the direction that they are initially facing. So that guy's facing down this way, this one is facing up towards the exit, and this one is next to the exit facing away. And that is it for the setup of the level. It's pretty straightforward. So before we get started, there's a couple of other things we need to talk about. Firstly is the concept of alertness. So alertness is the way that we track the state of the enemy, how the enemy are going to react to our presence. So they start off unaware, so they're unaware of our presence and they will behave as such. They're not really on the lookout for us, they're just patrolling and moving around. When the alertness level reaches 7, they become cautious, so they're more likely to notice you. And then when it gets to 14, they become alert and they try and track you down and kill you. So I'm going to track that using this D20 here, I think. So we're starting off on 0, so I'll leave it off camera until it starts. That's alertness. We also need to track HP. Now my understanding is that we start on 10 HP, so I will pop that on 0 here, and we'll just remember that that represents 10, and then if we get injured we'll go down to 9, 8, 7. I couldn't find anywhere in the rules that explicitly said you start on 10 HP. But it's made pretty clear by the character sheet. We've got a little HP tracker down here, and we've got 10 spots with an S on 10. So you start there and then you go down until you get to 0. Well, obviously, hopefully that doesn't happen. I think that's probably enough for us to get started. I'm going to try and not bash these bits around. So we need 5 dice. Here's my 5 dice. Originally I had a clever idea about matching the colour of the dice to the colour of the people, but then I realised that that actually wasn't going to work and I was being daft, but I've still got the same colour dice out as the colour of the people, but there's no correlation at all. But I'm glad I've coloured in the enemies. I will show you how that is helping me to track them once we get to the enemy turn. But the first thing to do is our own action. So what we need to do is roll the dice. 5 dice, as you can see, and we roll them. And I would say roughly what you're looking for is multiple dice that are the same, and sometimes dice that are high, so high numbers. I think at this point we're just probably aiming to get dice that are the same. So there's a Yahtzee style method here. In that, whenever you roll the dice, you can keep any that you wish to keep, and then you can re-roll them. And you can do that twice. So this is my first re-roll. That is not great, but I'll keep those, I think. Okay, so we've got 2 1s, 2 3s, and a 4. So if we look at the character sheet, we also have a section here on actions. So maybe I'll bring this up to the camera and we can have a little chat about what the various actions are. So we have got attacking, moving, sneaking, sliding, distracting, focus, hide the body, disengage, silent KO, and get intel. The little black cubes next to each action represent the number of dice required to do that thing. Some of the actions have a target number associated with them. This is a unique action number, So for example, to hide the body, it has a unique action of 4+, and that means if you killed someone and you make the decision that the best thing to do would be to shove the body in a broom closet or down in the stairwell or whatever it might be, then you need to use a single dice of 4 or more in order to do that. And you might be able to see below that there's also an alertness cost. If you choose to hide a body, then the alertness of the other enemies will slightly increase. Other actions don't have a unique action number associated with them, but you have to, or you can optionally dedicate multiple dice to that action in order to do it better. So for example, to attack, you can attack sort of averagely using 1 dice, but if you have 2 dice that are the same number, or 3 dice that are the same number, or even 5 dice that are the same number, you can do a better attack. And the same goes for move. If you have single dice, you could move 1 square. If you have 2 matching dice, you could move 3 squares, 5 squares are 3 matching dice, and you can move anywhere you want for 5 matching dice. But moving also raises alertness. So really what we've got here is mostly we're just going to be trying to get to the intel. And we're not going to be able to... Actually, wait a minute. We could actually we could move to the intel and we could physically get the intel in this action, in this turn. So let's see how that's going to work. We've got 2 1s. We're going to use our 2 1s to move 3 squares. So we're going to go 1, 2. Notice you can turn your person any way you wish and it doesn't affect the move. And 3. So moving always raises the awareness of the enemy. So that's going to go up by 1. So that was using the 1s, and then we're going to move again using the 2 3s. And again we can move 3 spaces. So we're going to go 1, 2, and then we're going to move onto the square with the intel. Now notice at no point during that did I move over the line of sight of one of the enemies, which wasn't too hard because that's just these 2 squares here, these squares here, and these squares here. But obviously this guy might be an issue when I choose to go to the exit, but I probably could make a run for it because the alertness of the enemies resets on every level. So long as I get to the exit, we'll be all right. So the lobby is a pretty easy level to deal with. Once you get to the other levels, it can be a different story. So we're on the intel, and we've got 1 dice left. We've got our 4. So getting intel is a unique action. It is achieved on a 4+. So just remind you that all of the actions are in the rulebook. We've got a page here on unique actions, and it explains how each one works. And then before that, we've got 2 pages on the basic actions, and it explains how all of those work as well. So unique action is getting the intel, and it says when you're on the square with intel, which is on every level, you can spend the interaction action dice. I'm not sure why it's not just called the unique action dice, because the abbreviation is UA everywhere, and any number of additional dice from your action pool to get the same amount of intel plus 1. So the first time I did this level, I was able to use all my dice from one go to get the intel. And I got a really large amount of intel as a result. Actually, I'm tempted to say I should wait to the next go, which is slightly risky, but I'll get more intel. Because if I do it using 1 dice, what I'm going to get is the value of this dice, 4. But if I use all the dice, you can add on plus 1 for each dice. So if I had a 5 here, plus 4, then I'd be getting 9 intel as opposed to 4. 4 is pretty pathetic actually, because you need a total of 12 in order to complete the heist and leave successfully. One point that I didn't mention is you can leave a heist without the intel that you need, but you can only do that twice. If you do it a third time, then you lose the game. But we don't want to do that, and I want more than 4 intel. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to sacrifice that dice, not do anything with it, which I'm assuming you can do. I'm not sure it says explicitly anywhere that I have seen, but I'm going to not use that dice, and we're going to move on to the enemy turn. So for the enemy turn, we're going to roll all 5 dice again. We should have raised this another point because we did a second move action, and each time you move, you raise the alertness by 1. And then, at the end of the enemy go, i.e. the end of the round, we'll be raising it by 1 again. So it automatically raises every single round, and then it also raises depending upon the actions that you've done. So here's our numbers. And what we're going to do is we're going to split these into 3 groups like that. So you've got 1s and 2s, 3s and 4s, 5s and 6s. And those numbers dictate which enemies act. And I made myself a little colour chart here so that I can keep track more easily of which enemies relate to which dice. So if we roll 1s and 2s, this guy here is going to move. If we roll 3s and 4s, this one here is going to move. And if we roll 5s and 6s, this one here is going to move. The lower number of the pair is a minor move. The upper number of the pair is a major move. So for example, what we're going to have here is our orange guy doing 2 minor moves, which is good news for us, I think. The blue guy is going to do 1 major move, and the green guy is going to do a minor move and a major move in that order. So if we look at the enemy actions here, a minor move is to rotate the enemy 90 degrees clockwise. A major move is to move the enemy 2 spaces forward. And if they can't move forward in their current orientation, then you orientate them clockwise until they can move forward. So remember, they are currently in passive mode. It's not called passive mode. What is it? They are in unaware mode. So these are the actions that they do in unaware mode. So if they become cautious, then they just carry on doing the same actions, but they are a bit more aware of what is around them. Well, we can talk about that later probably, if we get that far. And then if they become alert, then they start moving aggressively towards you and attacking. And I think as soon as they become aware of you, they become alert. So it's not just through the gradual increase of this dice. If you go in front of them and you're dancing around, they're going to be immediately aware of you. So we need to do the actions. 2 minor actions for this fella here. So he's going to turn and he's going to turn. So that's awesome. He's now facing away from us. This fella here is going to do a major action, which is moving 2 spaces. 1, 2. And he's facing a wall. And this one here is going to do... well, he's going to do a minor action, which would be turning, like that. So yeah, so the first action is the minor action. He's moving, he's turning clockwise, so he's facing the wall. Then in order to move, he would turn until such time, turn clockwise it says, until such time that he can move forward. Now, I don't know whether he can move onto the exit square. I was all ready to say that he can't, but maybe they can, because I guess it's just a stairwell, you know, leading out like that, or a lift entrance or whatever. So I guess there's no reason why he couldn't move there, which is a bit of a disaster really for me, because it's going to make it harder to get to the exit. But I think I've got to play it that way. I've got to play that he could go in that direction. So he's now on the same square as the exit, but that's only moving 1 square. He's going to move 2 squares. So he's going to turn clockwise until such time that he can move, and then he's going to move there. So actually that's pretty bad for me. I think I'm going to have to sneak around this way to get to the exit. So we're going to spend a little bit longer on this level than I would have anticipated. Probably. We'll see how it goes. He could move straight past me in the next go. which would be fine. We'll see. Anywho, that's the end of the enemy's go. The alertness dice increases by 1, and then we move back on to our own turn. And that is the loop of this game, really. That's what we're going to do. But we're going to play out this heist, and we're going to see how it goes. So this is for our character, for Declan. There's some pretty good roll in there, actually, because I think I'm just going to sit where I am and gather intel for this turn, which might or might not be a good idea. So getting intel does not raise alertness. I can use this dice here, and I hope that I've got this right. But I'm not 100% sure, if I am honest. So if you look at get intel, it says, when you are on a square with intel, you can spend the interaction, the UA die, and any number of additional dice from your action dice pool to get the same amount of intel plus 1. So that, to me, means that you get the amount of intel on the dice that you dedicate, and then you can add additional dice to add plus 1 to that number. So here I would be getting the max intel, 6 plus 4, which is 10. I'm almost sure that's what that means. But it doesn't explicitly say, use the number on the dice. But I think that's what it means. So we, by using all these dice, which is what I'm going to do, gain 10 intel. Which means we are only 2 intel off from being in a position to exit the heist, having successfully completed the heist. So I'm going to make a little note on my sheet here. And that is the end of our character's turn. So we're going to move on to the enemy and hope that they don't spot us. So the ones are the orange enemy. So he's going to turn. So he's doing 2 minor actions, which if you remember is just turning 90 degrees. So turn 90 degrees, turn 90 degrees. So he's facing back up towards us. The blue enemy is doing 1 major action. So he turns until such time that he can move. He then moves forward 2. And Greenie is going to do a minor and a major. That's interesting, because the minor turns him 90 degrees. If we'd have rolled 2 majors, he'd go down this way. But he's rolled a minor. Then he's going to do a major, which means he needs to move forward 2. He can't move forward 2 at the moment because he's facing a wall. So he's going to turn once, move forward again. I think I'm right here. Then he's facing the exterior wall of the building. So he's going to turn again. He's still facing the exterior wall. He's going to turn again. And he's going to move back to exactly where he was before. And I'm pretty sure that's how that works. I have found this a couple of times. The enemies get sort of caught in a little area by these 2 moves. And they just keep on moving backwards and forwards. But I think that's how it works. No, I'm not wrong about that, because it says, if an enemy movement is obstructed by a barrier, turn them clockwise until their path is no longer obstructed. So there we go. This is the setup at the end of the enemy's turn. We're going to raise the alertness dice to 4. And we're going to carry on with our character's 3rd turn. So here we go. Right, we've got a couple of 1s and nothing else matches. Really, we're looking for the maximum number of matching dice here because we want to do a run to the exit. Okay, that's not too bad. Looking here, it's going to take me 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1. So actually, I could get to the exit with those, which would get the alertness up by 3, but by that point I'll have legged it out of this level and on to the next one. So we use the 2 1s to move 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. The 2 4s to move 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. So that would have raised the alertness by 1 and 1 to 5 and then 6. And then the final 5 allows us to move 1 space to the exit. And my understanding is as soon as you hit the exit, you're able to leave. So that would raise it to 7, which would mean the enemies become cautious, as you would imagine, because I just snuck right past the back of this guy. But we're out of the first level. The first level is successful, and we can reset this and go on to level 2. So looking here, we can see that at the start of each heist level we reset alertness to 0 and roll 2d6 to determine the layout of the next level. Now what I didn't do in the lobby, and what I actually haven't done at any point whilst playing, because I've just been wrapping my head around the basics, is feature objects. Each level can optionally have a healing station or an additional random enemy. So I think maybe we should do that for the next level. So we're going to reset the... Oh no, that's my health, isn't it? I was using my health to track the alertness. I said I was going to use this dice to track the alertness. Okay, I'll put this dice closer and hopefully I'll remember. This is my health. This is the alertness. I'll bring that on when we set it to 1. Okay, so alertness goes back to 0. My health has gone back to 10 because it never actually went down in the first place. And we're going to roll 2d6 to determine which level we're going to have next. 9. So 9 gives us the cafeteria. So this is interesting. The cafeteria has got virtually no walls. We've just got partial cover. So we're definitely going to have to learn how partial cover works. So I'm going to reset this, then we'll have a little chat about the level. We'll double check to see whether we've got one of those feature objects, and then we will probably pause and attempt the next level in the next video. Alright, here we are all set up. We've got our character Declan coming in down in the bottom left corner here with a little bit of shelter with this wall here. And then we've got these 3 partial cover areas here. So it says you can move through partial cover, but you can't end your action standing there. Okay, so it still provides cover, but we can move through it. Okay, cool. And we've got our intel over here, right next to this enemy here. This is our exit, and we've got the enemies all over in that area there. So it looks like it's going to be an interesting level. It definitely looks more challenging. Oh, we need to check, see if there's a feature object. So some maps have special objects. To see if this level has one, start by rolling a d6 twice. Skip in first. Not sure what skip in first means. If you roll a 5 or a 6 on either roll, the level has a special object, and then check the special object table. Okay, so it's not just those 2 special objects, there's 6 special objects. Alright, so we roll 2, with both 5 or a 6, we've definitely got a special feature, and it's going to be special feature number 4. There's a bit of a typo here, we've got 2 3s, but I think it goes 1, 2, 3, that should be 4, 5, 6. So the additional object is a second exit. That could be very, very, very handy. Once you know what it is, roll 2d6 to determine the location. These dice give you the column and row coordinates. Okay, so we're going to roll these. The green dice will give us the column, the blue dice will give us the row. So it's at 2, 4. I said green dice for the column, didn't I? So, yeah, 4, 2, sorry. So 4 along, 2 up, that is a thing. So what if that area is occupied? Re-roll or switch the numbers. Let's try switching. So 2, 4, that's occupied. That's quite a lot of stuff on this level. Yeah, so 3, 4 is an enemy. 4, 3, there we go. So 4, 3 gives us that square there. So we're going to have an additional exit right in the middle of the room. So there we go. That could definitely be handy as we're making our way off this level. Alright, so there you go, folks. That was our first level and setting up the second level. Hope you enjoyed it. Any questions, any bits and pieces that I got wrong or maybe I was ambiguous about, feel free to drop a comment down below. If you enjoyed this and want to check the game out yourself, there'll be a link down in the description to Drive-Thru RPG where you can check it out. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.